That. There it is. Well, greetings, people of the internet. Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. You know, isn't technology grand? I mean, 10 years ago, me doing something like this, having my own broadcast studio and being able to share information with you was just blows the old man's mind. So, never get too complacent about technology. It can be a lot of fun, just like anything else, but I thought I'd go off on that little rant. So good morning to all of you. Thanks for coming to see this old guy again. I'm old, I'm crusty. Sometimes my voice cracks. I'm prepubescent 60-year-old man. I like to drink coffee, drink water, and hang out with you folks. So you're in for, a fun run today. So howdy to everybody out in the chat. We'll come back to that here in a minute. Let me get some windows arranged here and see if I can figure out how to do this. Pardon me. Let's see, left monitor Vixia. There we go. Because I have to, of course, be in the shot at all times. So and we'll do a little transition and we'll get started with the weather today. So, according to the minds that know about weather, we had a cold front come through, or we're having a cold front come through. As you can see, yesterday, it did get up to 87 degrees, but it was, the older I get, the more I like the heat. It doesn't bother me as much as it used to when I was a younger fellow. I don't like the cold, and of course, that's what we got today. So our high so far has only been 74. Our low is going to get down to 54, and then as you can see, the cold weather is going to stick around, or the cooler weather, typical spring weather for South Texas is going to stick around a while. And hopefully these little drops of rain are not just, wishful thinking, that we are going to get some rain, because let me tell you, we really need rain. I started a garden this year. I bought one of those little stand-up, it's about waist high. It's a long, probably 4 or 5 feet long and about 2 feet, 18 inches wide, deep. And I filled that with soil and planted some tomatoes and some peppers, because it's kind of hard for me to get down on the ground. Our best planting happens when we plant stuff natively in the ground, but we just didn't. It's a lot of effort to build a garden every year. But the trick to good gardening soil is clay soil, which is what we have. It's very dark and sticky and has lots of nutrient stuff in there. And then you treat that with cow manure to get the nutrients back in it, and with something else, stuff that makes the soil fluffy and light. I forget the name of it, but anyway, doing another garden this year and enjoying the hell out of it. And hopefully I'll have some fresh tomatoes and some fresh bell peppers and red peppers and that kind of thing. So that's what I'm doing. All right, so we got the weather out of the way. Let me move another camera here. I don't know why this hasn't happened, to be honest with you, other than the fact that I'm just, I guess, I get done with my day at the end of the day and I just don't want to do anything else. And it's a simple matter of me going out there and dropping the hose in the pool and just turning it on and letting it run. But for whatever reason, I just can't seem to get back out to the pool to get it filled. It's been a very low priority. And I wasn't sure I was going to open the pool again this year, but my spouse has convinced me that I indeed am going to open the pool this year, and we are indeed going to swim in it more than once. Because, we're getting a little girthy and we need whatever little exercise we can get. So, yeah, I need to get off my bohunkus and get out there and get it filled. And then it'll take probably about a week. It's not real dirty, not real green. We didn't have a lot of leaves going it this year because we trimmed that live oak tree that you can see next to it. And if you ever have a chance to get a live oak tree, plant as many as you can afford. In fact, talking about gardening and pools, we're going to be getting some trees in the next couple of weeks from the local, what do they call that place where they have plants? We're going to go up and see them and get some trees. Probably about 10 trees, and we're going to see if we can get them to plant them for us. But because we don't have enough trees on our property. But the pool we get full when the pool gets full, as they say. The next thing we want to talk about is solar power, and there hadn't been much going on that either. Once you get the solar in, you just kind of, you live off of it. So the 24-volt system has got quite a bit of a load on it today because I've got all my servers running, so I can show you how we're doing on that. So it's pulling about 1,000 watts right now. That's everything on the rack, and everything you see here on my bench is pulling 1,000 watts. And then on the 48-volt system, this is the house. This is the air conditioning. Well, it's part of the air conditioning. It's refrigerators, lights, those wax warmers, for the scented wax. My spouse has got those all over the house. They pull about, between 12 and 25 watts a piece. If we got a ceiling fan on or a floor fan on. And my battery did get down last night because the way I've got this is configured is to consume the battery in the evening and then recharge. The priority on solar is to recharge the battery and power the loads. And so the problem is we're not going to have a lot of sun over the next few days. And you can see right now we've had well, that was last year. Let me do this week. So our solar has not outpaced our consumption or even kept up with it. It's gotten pretty close, but we've had a lot of cloudy days here, unfortunately, with no rain. But, it's keeping up. Again, it's all about making sure I have enough panels hooked up and enough battery capacity. And that's another big job I need to tackle. And that is I've got a battery in a box back there. I've got a case, that battery I built from scratch. Well, I got a case for it. And then I've got a new battery to put in with the others. But I can't do it until I get my wiring done. And I can't do my wiring until I get this done. And I can't do that until I get the other thing done. So, as they say, shit rolls downhill. But let me tell you, the anxiety I had when I first put this system in has pretty much disappeared because, and I probably should knock wood, these Victron inverters and secondarily this EG4 inverter have just been, well, they've been workhorses, and I've had zero problems out of either one of them. And it's just been a joy to kind of use them. I'm strange I'm not getting any solar power out of the panels right now. What was today, the 18th? Yesterday I did. Yesterday I got almost 8 kilowatts out of those panels. Oh, there they are. I just was not giving it time. And this system runs my mini splits, heating and air conditioning, and is, how I've got the plugs rigged up. back here in the room is I can take any plug. It's kind of like Green Acres, remember? You can't plug a 4 in with a 3 because it'll go over 7, you know. That was an ingenious system that Mr. Douglas or the writers thought up. So I kind of adopted that with my solar room. So I got plugs in there for every solar system I have, including the 24-volt system here. I extended a plug into that room so that in an emergency I could move stuff around, or if I needed to do maintenance, I could do stuff. It's like a old telephone board, you know, and it works really well for me. But back to the subject of these inverters, don't be, well, I can't speak of the current EG4, but I know I have seen I've seen nothing negative about these EG4 6000 or the 12,000 inverters. I'm sure people have had their problems out there with them. And then Victron, the reason you don't hear about Victron is because they are a low frequency inverter, so they have very few electronics, MOSFETs that can blow. They've still got some in there, but they do most of their hard work with a toroidal transformer, a very heavy transformer. And frankly, I think it's a better way to do things, gives you smoother power for electronics and can handle loads, you know, initial boom, you know, compressor on a refrigerator starting, or air conditioner, or an air compressor. They're suited very well, these low frequency inverters, to handling those kind of loads. And so it's all a matter of sizing your system correctly for your needs, and then just, you know, sitting back and waiting for the hard-earned money you spent to come back and you know, benefit you. And that's all I'm waiting for. So come back to me now. I'm going to go out to the chat and say hello to everybody. So Hein Christensen, William Wilkinson, Sakura is here. Yes, he's got the band hammer of justice. Serverman 328, good to see you here. James Scouten. Oh, chat jumped. Jason's Lab, good to see you, man. Mini Bike Videos was here, and good to see you. He had to go. He's going on a walk. All right. Who else? Grish is here, and that's it. Yeah, cool. If you look at a plant, it dies. Yeah, it usually is just a matter of not giving it the attention it needs, but that's okay. So let's move on to other subjects. What I got to talk about now. Let me consult with my notes. So, I don't know if you've noticed or not, but 7-Eleven announced they're going to be closing. I'm going to do a little news, then we'll move on. This something caught my eye. I thought it was funny. 7-Eleven is closing over 645 stores in North America this year. And they said it was due to 3 things. No more SBA loans, Small Business Administration loans, to open more stores. They can't afford the H-1B visas to hire cheap workers to work in their stores. And EBT won't cover junk food moving forward. It has all led to their demise. That's pretty sad. I don't know if that article is true, but I thought it was funny. So I thought I'd bring it up and share it with you. So let's see. The next thing is you know, for those of you that aren't paying attention, and I don't get involved, I don't pick a side on politics. I think they're all scoundrels. I'm currently happy with the current leadership we have, and we'll leave it at that. But I don't get in debates with people about that. You believe what you believe, I believe what I believe. But I think there's no denying right now there's a big change going on in the world. And it seems to me that the U.S. seems to be driving that change, for better or worse, whether you like it or not. But we're pretty much telling the rest of the world we're not going to take your shit anymore and be treated like, you know, look down upon with your, you know, on your nose, from the folks in Europe and UK. And, you know, if the folks in Europe and UK and Canada and Mexico want to run their countries that way, that's fine. But I think what our leaders have told the rest of the world is, We're going to go in and we're going to take care of business that we've let languish for 40, 50 years. This stuff in Iran has been going on since I was a wee lad, and it was a weak president that allowed it to happen. And so now we're fixing that. It looks like Cuba might be on the verge of flipping and their leadership falling. Regardless of what the people in the EU think, we're going to get Greenland. So I'll stand firm on that. We're going to get Greenland. You're going to sell it to us one way or the other. We're going to get it. But it's a paradigm change in the world. And the other thing my friends in the EU and the UK need to realize is that, you know, for 50, 60, 80 years, the US has kind of had your back. And now it just doesn't seem like you've got ours. And that's really a sad. And I don't mean, I'm generalizing, of course. I don't mean you good folks here that are from the EU or the UK. I know how you feel. You make it abundantly clear in our Discord that you agree that something has got to change. And I just hope they wake up in time. But the days of Europe controlling our banking systems and having this over our heads with taking care of you folks and providing your military power and strength, those days are over. And you better learn to fend for yourselves, because we got a house to clean here, as you can tell. We got a fucking mess in this country. We got to clean that up first. And we got to get our manufacturing back. And this little rant I'm on is going to lead into some more about manufacturing coming back to the U.S., because that is what I have seen been picked apart since the mid-'70s in this country. We used to make stuff here. We used to make some of the best stuff. And we sent all that manufacturing to other countries and fell into the bullshit that this is a global economy. And while it is a global economy, that doesn't mean you take your means of production and give them to some other country that is your adversary and expect that to turn out well. So the days of that kind of stuff continuing on are, I think, I can safely say, at an end. But better than me saying it, how about I do it with a funny video. And here is that video right now, if you haven't seen this.
So your profile said you were African American.
I am a freaking American.
So yeah, America, fuck yeah.
So your profile said you were African American.
So I saw that earlier and had to share that with everybody. So moving on from there. All right. Part of that bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the FCC. You know, if you were looking on the YouTubes lately, everything is the sky is falling. Whether it be, we'll get to this as well, whether it be this bill going through Congress to, you know, get age verification in the operating system now, That's a touchy subject, isn't it? But let's talk about the router ban, right? Now, let's just clarify something right now, the elephant in the room. If you have a current router from one of these manufacturers, the government is not telling you they're going to turn it off or whatever. What they are telling you is they were able to go into some of these routers and prevent a takeover of them from a bot. Anytime you don't control your manufacturing, you have a little trouble controlling how things get made and things that can be snuck in. And we all know the Chinese are notorious for sneaking in backdoors to software, and we're not going to have any of that unless it's us doing it, right? Which is what the government is basically trying to say. No, if anybody's going to have a backdoor into your router, it's us. But this just goes to show our point. When you don't control the manufacturing, they're using this as the FCC is as a hammer to get these companies to move their manufacturing, in part, back to the U.S. See, that's what this is all about. We're trying to pull back companies and encourage them with either a carrot or a hammer that it's a better idea to do business in the U.S. than it is to manufacture your things overseas and then not be able to sell them in the U.S. for whatever reason. Pardon the dog. She's a little bit, she's got some problems today. She's healthy, but she's just fussy. So one of the solutions to this is to do something like pfSense or OPNsense or any of those. Enroll your own router. So if anything, the home, the home lab folks have shown people how to do routers. I ran a pfSense router for years and preferred it. I only went over to UniFi because it just made my life a whole lot easier, and it made my clients' lives a whole lot easier. Plus, I can link them together just seamlessly and not have to worry about all these little details. So the easier I can make my life and my client's life, that's the path I'm going to take. So part of this FCC ban, so they're not going to come in and tell you can't use these routers, and you can still buy some of these routers in the U.S., but eventually they are going to stop them from coming in. Also, it's funny, but Netgear is not part of that list, and they're not made in the U.S. I think that's another conspiracy theory I need to add to my satchel of conspiracy theories. But that being said, I wouldn't worry about it. It's one of those things that whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and it's kind of out of our control. But just be prepared, just be aware that it's coming. All that means, I think, is that they're trying to encourage folks to move their manufacturing back to the U.S. Because we got plenty of people. We got ex civil service people that are either retiring or leaving the civil service, and they're going to need jobs. And we got a lot of people in this country that are going to need, places of employment and good skilled jobs because they pay the best money. So I think with all this stuff with, I have said it before, I think this AI is a bit of a bubble. I stick with that, although it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Just maybe not in the way that we think it's going to happen. So my views on AI. If it works for you, if it offers you some value, then use it. In fact, I'll be talking to you about how I'm using it. So then the other thing that the sky is falling on and is a bill that was introduced into Congress about making age verification mandatory on operating systems. So I don't know enough about this bill. They just released the verbiage yesterday. I mean, they had the bill, and the title was really kind of conspicuous because they said, and others things, in addition to, age verification on the operating systems and other things or other items. So I wanted to know, because the devil's in the details, I wanted to know what those other items were. And keep in mind, this should raise a red flag to anybody. Anytime a politician tells you it's for the children, you should be very, very worried, because usually it's not for the children. It's for them to spy on you. All right. Be a responsible parent. Don't give your kid a frickin' cell phone. Don't let your kid on the internet. be a responsible person and we won't have these problems where the government feels they can get involved. So I'll worry about it a little more intensely when I get more details on it. I'm not going to worry about it now because I'm too busy worrying about Microsoft going out of business, the poor things. And, everybody's leaving them for Linux. I don't know if you've heard that, but I've heard that, and I'm beside myself right now with grief and worry and fear. Which brings me to my next subject. How's our conversion back to Hyper-V going? Well, folks, it's going real well, but showing's better than telling. So let me see if I can't figure out how to do this. All right, so bring you up to this one. This is which one is this? This is the Lenovo SE450 unit. And it is running Server 2022. It's running Hyper-V. This is the unit with the Xeon Gold 512. Man, I better watch my back because I'm going to have people crawling in my window to get to that RAM. 512 gig of RAM. Yes, you're seeing that correctly. And, it's got 24 cores and 48 threads. And this is my main Hyper-V machine for running clients. It's running a lot of stuff on here. These are all the Windows 11 virtual machines that I'm using for clients. I've got my free PBXs on here. I've got my Ubuntu. What is this one for? I don't even know. This is my Ghost CM. Oh, this is for Ghost, the UB2404. And you can see they've been running quite a few days now with very little trouble. I did have one problem the other day. I had a user tell me, hey, my virtual machine threw me out, and I went and looked on Hyper-V, and there were two of them. They were critical and they were paused. What had happened is they had run out of hard drive space. So that's why I've got this little shell command up here to pause and resume a VM, because I had to actually stop the VM and move the virtual hard drive to a different machine, and it worked extremely well. And I had the machine back up and running within about 30 minutes. So that was the only hiccup we had so far with moving back over to Hyper-V. And it's working really well. The other server that I use, which is is it my daily driver? Let's see, is it this one? No. Where's my other daily driver? Let me bring that one up, because that is the, I think it's a Dell 630 we want to bring up. So let me bring that up. Let me get an IP address first, folks. So that would be 5.2. All right. So let me bring up 5.2. Now, I know last week I was talking about perhaps running Proxmox. Running Proxmox as a nested machine under Hyper-V. Well, I did that. I tried that. And it wasn't the most pleasant experience I've ever had. So I convinced myself that that wasn't a good idea. Please, baby, make your bed and lay down. Thank you. So I chose to do something else. But here's my other mission critical machine. This is the Dell R630 running Hyper-V and Windows Server 2022. This one has 95 gig of RAM, and it's only hosting a few machines. We've got a web server over here. It's hosting. You see, we got the Proxmox Dell server here, but it's turned off. System Center Virtual Machine Manager is here, and then I got a domain controller for my Unky Joe's Playhouse domain. And again, it's handling the load just fine, running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How long have I had the VMs up? Yeah, quite a while. So they've been doing just fine. And no regrets. No regrets. In addition to that, I have found a place to run Proxmox. I purchased this machine, oh God, a year ago, and it was going to be a media center for the bedroom. So the idea was, for those of you that don't know, I've had a bee in my bonnet about downloading things off of the internet and storing them locally and hosting my own stuff, because we're better, right? That way I control access to the data. I don't have to depend on the Wayback Machine or the Internet Archive to archive something like software or an article I saw on YouTube. I can just keep it here in my own little domicile and have access to it whenever I needed it. So that's what this machine was going to do. It was going to connect back to Kiwix and MB and Plex and Jellyfin, and it was going to be my front end for connecting to my my archive, my YouTube archive server, where you can save the videos to your hard drive. But I just didn't find myself using it. I got Roku built in my TV, so we just kind of settled on that. It wasn't something. I've got a tablet now, or a Surface Pro, that if I want to view some of those videos, like in my bedroom or whatever, I can just take that tablet with me and watch it right there, sit it on my lap. So that freed up this machine, and I forgot, this is a powerful little machine. It's got a Ryzen 5 5500U with 16 gig of RAM. And I looked it up back then, a year or two ago. I only paid $259 for this thing. And it came also with a what size hard drive did it come with? Not a very big one. Yeah, 500 gig hard drive, NVMe drive or NVMe SATA drive, whichever. But as you can see, it's the perfect sized little machine for Proxmox. And not only that, but I'm running Proxmenu X on it as well. That's just a standard install I do now when I'm doing my Proxmox stuff. I install Proxmenu X. It just gives you so much access to so many other things and fixes a lot of problems most people don't even know need to be fixed under Proxmox. It has tuning and tweaking for AMD and Intel processors, spectrum mitigation, which we talked about a couple of weeks or a week ago. All that is built into Proxmenu X, and there are options where you can flag that on or off to take care of that problem. Because what I've decided to do with Proxmenu X is mainly have it host the one-off machines that I would typically run as a LXC container. So this will be mainly for running LXC containers or running some of the Proxmox helper scripts. It won't be running for running VMs or anything like that, because I've decided I'm going to run all my VMs under Hyper-V, including Windows and Linux. We're going to get to that in a minute, and I'll show you what it is I'm running under Hyper-V for Linux, and the little experiment I'm doing. And then, the right tool for the right job, right? And so mainly the thing that I'll use Proxmox for is LXC containers. I have no desire or need to pass through like a video card anymore through to a because all of the AI stuff is now written for Windows as well. So Ollama, now they have a Windows component. I don't need to run a Linux server and deal with all that pass-through nonsense and the driver nonsense, because it just works under Windows, right? And, if you want the challenge of Proxmox, go ahead. It doesn't bother me. You do you. I'm just, again, it's just not something I need. I trust for my day-to-day Windows virtual machine needs. So, but it's got its uses, and I'm gonna put it to use with that. let's see. I've also started converting a client back now. I got a client who's got a mirror image of the equipment I have here. They have a Super Epic, and they also have a Dell R730, and I've converted them over the last week back to Hyper-V. We already had Windows Server licenses that they had bought years ago, so we just use those. They're only running Windows Server 2019 because it's all they're licensed for. But I ran into some interesting problems because I hadn't kept up with my BIOS upgrades and whatnot on the Super Micro board. So Sakura had taught me that the first thing you update on these boards is the IPMI interface, and once you've done that, then you can go and upgrade the BIOS. Well, this particular unit was on BIOS 2.6, and when I went to the Super Micro site, it said, hey, the current BIOS is 3.4. So I thought, well, I'll just upgrade the BIOS to 3.4, and I proceeded to do so, and I bricked the unit. And it even, if I'd have done my research ahead of time, because I just assumed it was safe, that the 3.4 BIOS was for a different version, a newer version of this board than I had. But I didn't have any way of knowing that because I didn't have physical hands-on to this board. But I got into, this is where Grok and things like Grok and Gemini come in really handy, because I knew I couldn't have been the first person that ran into this problem. So I'm trying to wean myself off of Grok and onto Gemini, as you'll see here shortly. And by God, Gemini walked me through it and gave me the answer and pointed out, hey, the last good BIOS for that board was 2.9, 2.96, I think, but not 3.4. And so it made some recommendations. So I called the client up. I said, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you go unplug that server from the wall? We're going to let it sit for 15 minutes with no power, and then plug it back in for me and turn it on, and let's see what happens. So I walked the customer through that. As soon as they did that, I was back up and running, and I was able to flash successfully to 2.9 and get it back up and running. But then the other problem I had was that for whatever reason, I could not get virtual media to stick, right? So the virtual media is where you take like an ISO image or whatever on your own local hard drive, and you share that up to the virtual machine as a virtual drive, and then you can boot off of a Windows Server install ISO file, right? No matter what I did, it didn't want to work. And then so it gets to the point of diminishing returns, and I'm expected to produce results, not waste a bunch of time. So I got to thinking to myself, why don't I just set up a Pixie Boot server? And I've been meaning to do this anyway. Set up a Pixie Boot server. So I did that. I used Microsoft Windows has a deployment server built into it. Windows Server does. So I used that, set up my image, and then I just simply, because I was able to get into IPMI, I could reboot the unit and then go into hit F12 to do a Pixie boot from one of the network cards, and bing, bang, boom, my problem was solved. Isn't that amazing? So I got that resolved, and I got Windows Server now installed on both the AMD system at that client and the Dell 730. And through using Clonezilla, I was able to boot up those machines, transfer their hard drives across the network to a Hyper-V virtual machine that was also running Clonezilla on the other end, replicate the hard drives and get them back up and running and get all the VMs. Then I was tasked with the problem of I wanted to run Proxmox on one of the Super Micro servers, the little 1U units that the client has had for, 10 years now. Not real powerful. It's got a quad-core Xeon and 32 gig of RAM. They're not real powerful units, but perfect for running Proxmox. And I ran into the same problem. I couldn't mount a Proxmox ISO, but I was able to use this program called netboot.xyz to set up a Pixie Boot server for Linux. You can use it for Linux, Windows, Proxmox. And what it does is, through the use of that, manipulating your DHCP server and using Pixie Boot on the Supermicro, I was able to boot off of a network image and get Proxmox installed remotely. So, yeah, the gods were shining their love down on me that day. It was a good week, and I got it all converted, and I'm very pleased with myself. And I couldn't have done it without the skills I've learned by playing around with Proxmox, because I've learned a lot about Linux through using Proxmox, and I've been able to apply that to how I could best use that for my clients. So I got that done. Let's see. We talked about the age requirement. We touched a little on self-hosting, but again, let me reiterate that. I used to have this methodology, and I've gone back to it, of every time there was an update to a program, I would download it and archive it here so that I could go back. Say they take a feature out of some piece of software that you love, and it's a must-have. Well, if they don't make archives available of the older versions of the software, and a lot of open source projects don't do that, and a lot of closed source don't do that, you still have a way to go back to an old version of a program. So hard drive space is cheap. Well, for me it is. For you, it might, your mileage might vary, but I've had so many people donate hard drives to me over the years. I got lots of ubiquitous, lots of storage. So I save everything like a pack rat, including my, videos that I find useful off of YouTube. In fact, I've saved more than I'll probably ever watch in a lifetime, but I have it. I've got offline Kiwix server, and I can add articles to the Kiwix server. That's for those of you that don't know. Those are for wiki articles or Wikipedia articles, so you can store that knowledge base. And then the other thing we have now on top of that is AI. And whether you host it locally or you host it or you use somebody else's system, you just need to think of AI as a large search engine with a really big database on it. That's really all AI is right now. And it can go out and can do some things with coding. It can be an assistant to you, but it's not to the point where we're ready to trust it to run our lives. At least I'm not. But there is one thing that I'm using it for that I wanted to share with everybody, and that is under Gemini now. There's this thing called notebooks. So I'm going to share with you my Google Gemini here for a minute while we talk about it. Here we go. And then you can see my history over here. So we'll go ahead and close that. So anyway, Gemini now has this feature called notebooks. So, for example, I created a notebook on NetBoot XYZ, and then I was able to create a separate model to track how it is I install NetBoot. Now, the other thing this does is you have the ability within this notebook to tell it specific items. For example, you can set up your own prompt for this notebook. Let me get back to it. Let's see. I'll use this on my Q&A compliance project. So under here, you can go and give it instructions. All right. I'm not going to let you read that all. And then in addition to having the LLMs available down here, the Fast, the Thinking, the Pro, and the Google Ultra, you can have your own citations, your own sources. So what I've done is I put all the government documents in here concerning NIST, CMMC, etc., all their information, and now I have a database that I can query and ask questions. So one of my questions was, there's a requirement for break glass accounts for Office 365. And so this explains it to me in, monkey brain terms that I can understand, and then even lays out more information about the multi-factor. There has to be FIDO2 security keys, password complexity. So all that stuff is buried in those articles that the government has created. And if you've ever read government documentation, you understand what what AI was written for. Just basically pulling the information, and it gives citations, okay? So all these little links are links to the citations, and these are all documents. These are all data I've fed the AI with. So this has become extremely useful for me. Like, for example, okay, you're supposed to break the passwords in half and give one part of a password to one person to lock in a safe and one to do the other, kind of like bringing the keys together to shoot off the nukes. But it's kind of a catch. Can I know these passwords? I'm the one who has to create them. So, shared responsibility, then it goes down and answers. It answers as much as it can. Now, then I had some other questions, like, I've told this thing this is an Office 365 G3 GCC install. And so I'm able to ask it questions that I don't know the answer to, and how to fix problems that come up. So this kind of AI, I just find amazing. It's like having an assistant that can go out and look stuff up through documentation. And I can add any other documentation. I can do images, I can do video, I can do PDF files, and I can modify the notebook. Try to get back up here. I can modify the notebook. I don't know why I had to come all the way back out, but I can modify the settings and give it more information, like right here, if I need to, as the product changes. So that kind of information to me is just what makes using AI so exciting. Now, I could do this locally. Local AI, because of the fact that I don't spend a lot of time on it. I have devoted a lot of time to using online AI because the models tend to perform better. If it's any information I'm not afraid of sharing or getting out on the internet, I'll do it in a model like this, or in a notebook like this where the data is closed into a little walled garden, and use it. I would love to do all this stuff locally. The problem is I've invested the time in learning how to use things like Grok and Gemini and Claude and that kind of thing, and I haven't spent a whole lot of time using my local AI stuff, and that's unfortunate. However, that is going to change. This server is the AMD EPYC, the Super EPYC server, and it also has a GeForce, not a very powerful card, GTX 1060 with 6 gig of RAM in it, but it's powerful enough to run things like, LM Studio. And I find I like Ollama, I like the Open Web UI interface, it's getting better, but I just go to LM Studio because it's just so much easier to maintain the models, the settings of how the video card uses memory, that kind of thing. And I'm getting really good results out of it. Now, I am limited in the size of the models I can use. And I'm getting 27 tokens out of this setup I have. Let's see, what else can I do? Go to PowerShell. And because NVIDIA SMI, I can run the NVIDIA SMI program. I can also put that into a little loop to where it refreshes the screen every 1 second, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, just like I can under Linux. So this is another thing that has drawn me kind of away from Linux, is I can do all this stuff in Windows, and I can do it, I think, for me, more efficiently, and do it the same. And it's an environment that I'm familiar with. I know how to use File Explorer in here. I don't have to do a lot of typing. I mean, I still have some command line stuff I need to do, but this just gives you an example. Not only can I run a bunch of VMs under Hyper-V and under Windows Server, but I can also run things like LM Studio. Let me bring up my Hyper-V, and within this one as well, my big curiosity is I don't know if you remember, I got a lot of pushback when I said Hyper-V was better for Windows machines to run in. And I stand by that statement. And I think, you'll find that is pretty much to be true. I think even Proxmox admits you're going to have a better experience with virtual machines, Windows, under Hyper-V than you would under Proxmox. But, you do you. But I wanted to see if the contrary opinion was true. If Linux is so good, then it should be able to run under Hyper-V, and have a remote desktop just as easily as Windows does, right? And I got a video coming up on that subject, but I might as well share a little information with you here as we go. So I've already set up some Debian 13 installs with GNOME, Cinnamon, and KDE. And I'm going to go ahead and just start these up. Now, these machines are full installs of Linux. I've selected the desktop version for each one. One is Cinnamon, one is GNOME, and one is KDE. And then what I wanted to do was load XRDP on them to see how easy it was to connect up to these machines virtually. In addition to that, I went ahead and loaded the Hyper-V tools on each one of these operating systems so that you could see that they had the tools loaded. So now, in theory, I should be able to RDP into any one of these machines, and I should be able to have a good experience. So let's try the Cinnamon desktop first. You'll see that that's an IP address 79. So I'm going to go ahead and connect to that. And then I think we log in as Adama. Oop. My super secret password. Now, just as little as a year ago, and you see how blazingly fast this is, XRDP was not something I had a lot of luck with. And it looks like I'm not having a lot of luck with it today either. It should just be working. Pardon me, I don't know why it isn't. Normally you get this kind of problem when you're logged in to a session through the console, but I don't believe that I am. I don't think I'm logged in at all on the console. No, I'm not. Well, let's try the GNOME interface. This one is going to be at 5.78, so we'll try this one next. And I think I'm kind of proving my point here. Let's see if this one works any better. Xorg. There we go. Finally, I got so there's my GNOME desktop, and I can do, I can do GNOME things. and Linuxy things. It's not real fast. You know, so settings is just sitting there kind of spinning. Let's see. Let's do LibreOffice. How about File Explorer? Do they have a File Explorer? Here we go. Files. Settings screen finally came up. I don't know what is this? Obfuscate. For these applications updates. Okay, there's a system update. There's a setting page. Huh. I could have sworn I told Office to come up, but what do I know? And the File Explorer, did I not? It's on a different screen. So you can see the experience is not what I would call the best remotely. Let's see if the other machine ever came up. Bear with me, folks. No. There we go. Sure. It says running in fallback mode, probably because it doesn't have a, it can't find a video accelerator, video card. But there's Cinnamon, and it's coming up. Let's see if I can run, LibreOffice. There we go. So it's not as smooth of an experience, but I want to give it a fair shake. It's not as smooth an experience as Office and Windows 11. The file browser has also been immensely improved. It used to be I would have to go out there with a program or modify FSTab to get my drive sharing done, but now it's just a matter of me entering the right credentials, clicking on connect, and then I can even do things like mount a drive, which means next time I bring my system up, I should have access to this share. Granted, I don't have a drive letter, but at least it appears that I have a more stable, before I say that, let's do this. Let's go open with files. Let's copy a template here. See, let's copy that to my downloads folder. And we'll see what kind of speed we get. So we're getting 170. Yeah, they've vastly improved this. These are 10 gig network cards in these virtual machines. But that right there is vastly improved. It used to be with using something like File Explorer under Linux, it would give me 30 to 40 megabytes per second transfer speed. So this is much improved. But as you can see, they still got some work to do when it comes to Linux on the desktop, and especially running it via an RDP session. So, and that's the big thing for me, because if I'm going to take Linux seriously, I need it to be able to run remotely and to be able to have users that can connect up to it and run their programs and have it be stable and have it be this and be that. And in order to make it something that I can sell to people, right? And so for the home lab, yeah, keep using Proxmox. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with running Linux if that's what you want to do. But this whole thing about Linux taking over the world, just because, especially your first indicator now should be France is adopting Linux. we'll see how well that works out. And they're writing their own, not France, but the EU is writing their own version of Open Office. So that ought to end well as well. So I wish them the best of luck. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but yeah, stop the sky is falling bullshit, because it's just, it's just not true. What else we got to cover? I have a video coming out either later today, just depends on how if it rains or not, because if not, I'm going to go out and do some work today or tomorrow. But there is one thing that I wanted to wait till the end of the video for, and we are going to have an after party. This came. In fact, it came yesterday, way ahead of schedule. I hadn't expected to receive it that quickly. And kudos to the people that sent this to me. You know who you are. Man, am I going to have a lot of fun with that if I can find any time. That is a true blast from Unky Joe's past. That was my start in computers. I have my own Commodore 64 here, but it doesn't work. And I don't want to, I just want to leave it the way it is. I know I could have it restored, but I'm not interested in that. I wanted something that was semi-modern I could play with, but yet that would still give me that feel of the old Commodore 64. And I don't know how much I'll use it, but it's here. And I want to thank the people that made that possible out there in the Ethernets. You know who you are. But anyway, I got a video coming out today or tomorrow on some other stuff I'm working on here at Unky Joe's Playhouse. And I think we've reached the end of the live stream. What do you think? All right. For those of you that don't know, go to unkyjoesplayhouse.com or .net. Go to our social media links, and in there you'll find our Discord link. So we go hang around on Discord in a channel called After Party. So go follow the link, go to After Party, and I will be there shortly to visit y'all, and we can chat for about an hour or so and say hello to the dog, and I can get some light in this room, that kind of thing. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming again, for putting up with me. Your patronage is greatly appreciated. Hit the like, hit the dislike. I don't care either way. Just let YouTube know you're getting involved. Leave your comments down in the comment section and subscribe and click that notification bell to be notified of new videos when they come out. Also, go to our website and sign up. I don't share your address with nobody. Nobody, and never will. I don't care how much money they offer me. No, really, I don't. And it's a good way to keep in contact. I can let you know of announcements, and if you're adverse to going to Discord, I can send information out there and let you know how things are going. Again, thanks again for coming to see me. Donate if you're so inclined. PayPal, Patreon, YouTube Join function. All of that on our social media links. Thanks again for coming, and don't forget, we'll see all of you in the after party, hopefully. Let's see if the monkey can figure out how to do this.
I've been watching old Unky Joe. From Texas heat to where the cacti grow. Fixing server solar power in the land. Hoping that his plans all stand. Making life a touch more bright underneath those southern lights.